world of the Brandon administration and
The Biden decline, the great Biden decline of the 21st century. That's how history will paint it.
It will, and it will show the pictures of him in front of the red background as the dark Brandon speech we're going to talk about here in a minute. Everyone, this is David Darnell. I'm Kevin Hoare, and we are your hosts for tonight. It's good to see all of you out there, and we're glad to be back. Hope you all had a good Labor Day. I hope it was a break from paying attention to some of the idiots that appear to be or think they are running the country, or people that are trying to convince us that these guys are actually running the country. It's increasingly not believable, but hey, we're ready to bring it to you. And let's start out with the Dark Brandon speech. Now, that one, to me, that whole thing.
Is that Darth Brandon?
Darth Brandon, exactly.
Where he abolishes the office of the presidency and declares himself emperor.
A galactic empire based on a cognitively impaired guy who doesn't even know how to find his way back off the stage after he's done speaking. Yeah.
How embarrassing for America.
Doesn't even make a good movie, like you wouldn't even who would go in and pitch that to a studio like, I got this great movie idea.
This great elder abuse scenario.
And the worst victim of all is the United States of America.
Elder abuse is hot right now. This is going to be great.
Well, he certainly gave a stem winder of a non-political speech where he spent the entire time attacking Donald Trump, everyone who supports him, and all 74 million people who voted for him. And I think that's what you do. You do two things when you are the fascist. You call the other person a fascist. You project all of these things that you're actually doing, since actually he's in charge. The Democrats are running everything, right? They're running everything.
They've got a trifecta. They can do whatever they want.
And they run the state of Oregon. So at this point, they're projecting everything onto this boogeyman that he referred to as the MAGA Republicans. And by the way, I wore my Thought Criminal shirt. I know it's backwards, but it says Thought Criminal because in case I have a MAGA Republican policy thought while we're talking here, I just
comes on screen.
That's right. Couple of the 87,000 IR agents file in here and start pointing to me. Then it's time. It's time. But I think that what struck me about his demeanor in that is that he seems to believe that crap. Sometimes I think to myself that it's maybe somebody's just sticking that in a teleprompter and then they just give him some meds or something so that he revs up for a little while and then they say just read this. But he was putting himself into it, and it's classic projection because their entire campaign strategy for 2022, it's now obvious that this is a 2022 campaign strategy on the heels of the Mar-a-Lago raid, which is of course no coincidence. Their strategy is to say, don't look at all the crap that he's effed up and the crisis after crisis that he's either unleashed or made worse. Because if they talk about any of that, he'll be back down in the 30s again in his polling.
Yeah. It's all about. Well, I mean, it's always all about getting. It's always all about getting and retaining power for Democrats, and they're willing to do absolutely anything to do it. Nothing is too low, and they think, and I don't think the strategy is going to work, Kevin. But they think that blowing a hole in Trump and then calling people, and I'm not sure how you get to here, but it must be very difficult for them to call people who believe that America should be great again call them an existential threat to all that is America. I mean, that's so far of a stretch. But we live in a world where up is down, black is white, and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's going to work for him, Kevin. I think it's going to backfire on them, and I think average people like you and I, when we go fill up our gas tank, even though we're paying less than $5 a gallon now, and go
For
to the
now.
grocery store. Yeah, for now, and go to the grocery store. I think we can, see beyond a shadow of a doubt that these policies that these Democrats seem to love and enjoy. I mean, like you say, they have all the power, and so they can do whatever they want, and the consequences should all be theirs. I think normal people will look at that and go, "No, I don't want any more of that."
Well, did you know that in order to get those prices down, first of all, Saudi Arabia and OPEC just cut production, so enjoy the 25 cents a gallon reduction in your near doubling of the price of gas since he took office, while you can, because there are various things that are going to inhibit the supply of petroleum. They're already trying to make it so that you don't have natural gas, but on top of that, they're pretty soon they're going to have emptied or virtually emptied the National Petroleum Reserve, which is supposed to be there for actual emergencies, not political emergencies. And it's going to be at the lowest level since it was created in 1983.
Yeah,
so
40 years.
That,
I mean, what happens if we have a natural disaster, or heaven forbid, a military assault from a foreign invading power or something? What are we going to do? We're all of a sudden we're out of fuel.
What happens if, I don't know, Southeast Asia, there's a big country that invades a small country that says that small country belongs to them, and then all of the trade through the South China Sea comes to a halt. I wonder if that'll slow down fuel deliveries to everyone. I mean, it's just it's treasonous what they're doing, and I thought I'd throw this in there because they caught my eye. It wasn't one of the topics we're going to talk about, but there's an advisor from the Trump administration, the Deputy National Security Advisor, Victoria Coates, that said the U.S. may actually on itself be on the verge of an energy crisis if Biden doesn't step up efforts to become energy independent, which we were. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is worrisome because we might be looking at, and some people might even be laughing at what's happening to Europe because, frankly, they inflicted on themselves by not listening to Trump. It's like totally obvious, but I think we shouldn't whistle past the graveyard because we have Brandon running this country, or whoever is running Brandon is running this country, and he has decided to go down the darkest of paths because he can't sell the crap he's doing anymore. He's terrible.
Well, doesn't Hunter claim that his dad will do anything he tells him? So is Hunter the guy behind the curtain?
Well,
because these are kind of policies you would expect from a drug-addled crack addict.
Yeah, who's owned by oligarchs in Russia, and by the Chinese Communist Party. I guess this is what it looks like. Plus, President Brandon said that Hunter is the smartest guy he knows. So, yeah, he said it. He said it repeatedly, and maybe he really means it. So I don't know. I don't know who's running anything. I know they're running the country into the ground, but so there was a little bit of good news in this Mar-a-Lago thing, and I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on this today because that one sounds like it's going to go into a slower mode. I mean, besides the fact that they won't go and conduct a massive search warrant of Hunter Biden and his residence, but they will go after the 16-year-old son of Trump, and then also go into Melania Trump's underwear, trying to seize national security materials. I thought the interesting story was that this judge, an actual Article 3 judge who was confirmed by Congress, unlike the magistrate who just decided, the ringer for the FBI who approved that warrant the other day, she has ordered what's called a special master, which is going to actually go through and decide which things are subject to not just attorney-client privilege, but there's medical records in there, and other personal memento records, and of course stuff that may be subject to executive privilege. Now, it means it's going to take a while. She said that she was tending to do this unless she got a really good explanation from the Department of Justice. All of the idiots on the left-wing channels, left-wing cable channels, their heads are exploding because they're like, you can't do that. That's against the Constitution. So apparently lawyer-client privilege, executive privilege, the Fourth Amendment, those are all against the Constitution now. So are Article 3 judges. They're against the Constitution. So this is where we're at.
Yeah. Well, like I say, we live in a world where right is wrong and up is down. And apparently words don't mean anything anymore. Apparently the truth doesn't mean anything anymore. Unless, of course, you're on the left and you believe you have been lied to, then, of course, the truth is very, very important to you. So, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that other than, we have a system where judges are supposed to figure out what is constitutional and what is not. And if we can't rely on that, then I'm not sure where we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna try to cancel everybody who disagrees with them, and they're not done. And they're starting to feel like they can do anything they want. The Attorney General actually sent a warning to the Department of Justice and to the FBI, warned them against talking to Congress, which is the constitutional entity that provides oversight and is permitted to be in contact with whistleblowers, for which there are whistleblower protection laws.
Yeah.
And but apparently the Brandon administration and our Department of Injustice can do, the Attorney General can do whatever he wants. Who cares about the Constitution?
Yeah. Well, there you have it. There's that's justice on the left.
Well, so let's shift gears and head back to justice on the left coast, specifically Portland. One of the stories that just kind of walloped me upside the head, I couldn't even believe it when I read it, is that there's well, I guess I did believe it once I read it. Andy Ngo was the one who got the scoop on this, and there's you can read the entire story on the postmillennial.com, which I'll post here. There's a guy who has been a rioter for several years here, repeatedly charged with felonies stretching back to 2020 when, there were all the Blame Tifa riots. He was just arrested last Friday in a child sex sting. His name's Aubrey Ryan Quinn Ward, 25. He was arrested on September 2nd in Washington County. You can count that wasn't going to happen in Multnomah. It was investigation into online pedophiles. Law enforcement, that thing where they pose as children on social media platforms. And then there were 4 other people that were arrested in addition to this guy. But this guy is hardcore Antifa. And the jaw dropper for me was that the guy's he was quickly released without bail the following day. He's pleaded not guilty on both charges. Wonder if he's a danger to the public or a flight risk, given that minor and first-degree online sexual corruption of a child, both felonies, and a history of multiple felonious riot-related charges. I wonder, should he be kind of out and walking around? Because his previous cases are dropped altogether by the Multnomah County District Attorney, who.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me he should probably be incarcerated until he's tried. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a member of the public with children. They're all adults now, but they weren't always.
Yeah, and they're moving into this brave new world where people that are involved with child sex rings that are felons can kind of just do whatever they want, no matter how many felonies they've been brought up on charges. This is going to be an interesting case to watch, because I wonder if he's getting out the Antifa get out of jail free card. I wonder if that's part of it too.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, we saw just recently. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but we saw the Freedom. What was that thing called? The Freedom Fund.
Oh yeah, the bailout fund.
Yeah, fund set up to bail out violent criminals. You know, that's not working well, as we can tell.
Oh, it's working exactly like they intended.
Well, yeah, it is working. Yeah. I stand corrected. It's working exactly like they want it to work. But yeah, I mean, we have facilities to incarcerate people for a reason, because they're a danger to society. And this this whole leftist move to let these people back into society and create the chaos that got them into the system in the first place is just not good for anyone. I mean, crime is skyrocketing. I don't know if you've seen the latest. Oh gosh, who put that out? Somebody. I'll have to send it to you. But there's an ad someone put out, and crime has skyrocketed. Violent serious crime has skyrocketed across the nation. And we reported here more than once that it's up some 200%.
Well, they're having an argument in Portland right now about whether they're going to listen to the numbers, because it's like nearly every category of crime is up dramatically. So is urban camping and the opioid addiction and the meth death of urban campers. We are the quintessential example of what the rest of the country seems to be heading towards if they don't change course and learn from our example here in Oregon.
Yeah, and the other thing that's up is the reticence by prosecutors, Multnomah County, Washington. Well, I don't know about Washington County, but Multnomah County and other counties with these Soros-backed, open chaos society candidates to not prosecute and to not keep these behind bars. And I'm no criminologist, but it seems like there might be some correlation there.
Yeah, I think that there is
that and defunding the police. I mean, you take police off the street and severely hamper, as we've seen in the city of Portland, their ability to respond to serious and violent crime, like we saw over not last weekend but the weekend before with that huge street takeover and the shooting that entailed there. It's no surprise that crime has shot up. And, we enjoyed, 80s, and I think it was the 80s when crime was this bad, 80s, 90s. We enjoyed a really downward trend across America, and I think Portland included, for many decades, because we were, in fact, enforcing the law. And now that we're not doing that anymore, here we are.
Well, and then when you add to that the fact that we might have a two-tier justice system, because back then crime was crime, and at times they didn't do enough about it. But once they did crack down, criminals are criminals, and they got prosecuted and went to jail. But look, maybe justice isn't the same depending on what your politics are. This is the news is that a judge in Multnomah County. Or actually, it was a U.S. magistrate judge in Oregon, dismissed the lawsuit against the city of Portland and the Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt that was filed on behalf by the family, the relatives of Aaron J. Danielson, a 2020 Trump supporter who was murdered, who was shot and killed. Yeah, he was murdered in cold blood.
Yes. For being a Trump supporter.
That's right. And so the suit blamed Danielson's death on the city's dereliction of duty, which is like the most obvious. He's not the only one that's been affected, but he's one that died in a set of circumstances that seem to specifically connect with politics. And then it's also, they attribute it to the decision by Multnomah County leadership in declining to enforce public safety laws during demonstrations in Portland's downtown core. And they did. They just said, we're not going to enforce anything. And this judge, U.S. magistrate judge, argued that Mike Schmidt is protected by prosecutorial immunity, which prevents prosecutors from being sued for injuries caused by their official action. He said Schmidt can't be sued for deciding not to prosecute certain cases. So there you have it, folks. And the U.S. District Judge Michael Simon then dismissed this lawsuit. So you don't have any recourse unless you go to the ballot box. That's it.
Yeah, it's obvious that the last several election cycles have left us with people who are in charge of policy who have the wrong freaking policy.
Yeah, and you can't push a string. You can't make somebody file a case against somebody if they don't want to, and it doesn't really matter how bad the crime is. Now, our attorney general could do it, but she was a fan of the lawless Soros prosecutorial approach before any of these other stooges got funded and won their seats. So, we better fight back at the ballot box because that's what we got. But it was somebody from Antifa that shot this guy. But we were told by President Brandon that Antifa is just an idea and it doesn't exist. But something fascinating happened the other day. Antifa, according to Antifa does exist. And this is something Andy No caught. I'm gonna post this here. It's a link to a post which has since been deleted, as you can imagine. That's what they do. That has it is apparently what they refer to as an Antifa sleeper cell. It refers to itself as an Antifa sleeper cell, and it's the Lane County AFA. AFA relating to Antifa, and they actually confirm that Antifa is not an idea, that they in fact have an organization, and that they have a mission, and they take direct military action. And our brilliant FBI that is going through President Trump's son's bedroom and his wife's wardrobe apparently can't figure out how to discover that this organization exists and crosses state lines, and maybe bring them up on racketeering charges, criminal conspiracy charges, which is what they do all day. And they tell you this. So there you go. They exist.
They seem to be able to do that quite nicely for groups like Proud Boys and 3% and Oath Keepers. So, yeah. Yeah, well, like you say, we've got a 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 tier justice system. And people like us, I think, are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yep, we're the worst of all. We're the worst of the worst. We're the thought criminals. And
yeah, we're very, very bad people. We're an existential threat to democracy.
Because we want the country to be great again, which it's clearly not under President Brandon. It is.
No, it's been a huge change in the last few years. I mean, it's like night and day.
Well,
Literally.
Literally. And it's interesting here in Oregon that we've been people are starting to register in the polls some of their concerns and their thoughts about what is at issue with regard to the upcoming election. And it turns out something that we've been talking about for a very long time, and the media has tried to pretend either didn't exist or was transitory or was Vladimir Putin's fault. I guess it is now starting to settle in on people that inflation is real and that they are pretty unhappy about it. And so this is the Oregonian, like a broken clock. They can be right twice a day. And that's what they said, that this is far and away. So that this is not even close. It's far and away the top concern that people and voters in Oregon have, even though there's other concerns that are very severe, like we've talked about with crime and homelessness and so on. They don't think they can afford to live in this state.
Yeah, and that's pretty universal. It hits everybody. It hits high income people. It hits low income people, and it hits you every single day. And so, yeah, it's kind of in your face. And there doesn't seem to be any, proper any policy shifts that will make that better. Even though we're being told that spending another $700 billion will relieve inflation.
It had something to do with the inflation in the first place. So let's do more of that, right?
God, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah.
Well, in addition to inflation, I think it's also very interesting that we're starting to, Oregon economists are starting to talk about the R word, recession. We've been told that's impossible, actually, and we've been told that the economy is doing so well because inflation is a high class problem. Hyperinflation means you have a super duper economy, and when the price of housing goes up 25% in a year, and gasoline doubles, and all this stuff, eventually inflation all by itself causes recessions, and they've frankly not taken it very seriously. But now they are clamping down on it, and it's turning out that it's very hard. There's some people that are still talking about what they call a soft landing. That's like saying that when one of those Russian helicopters flies over and gets hit by a $10,000 drone made by Turkey that was sold to Ukraine, that helicopter that bursts into flames is having a soft landing when it gets to the ground.
Yeah. Well, when you see Amazon canceling dozens of large distribution warehouses, downsizing, getting out of leases, you can bet that the consumer.
Uh-oh, you froze. Well, I think everybody can see me still. David usually comes back after the NSA gets done interfering with his Wi-Fi signal, but it can take a minute or so because that means something he's saying is probably pretty good. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I froze. Sorry. I was saying when all that happens, and Amazon gets back, you can be certain that a recession is on its way. So yes. you can do all the yield curve inversions and all the other forecasts for recession and jobs reports and all that. But when Amazon starts canceling these mega warehouses that they've been building everywhere. Yeah.
Well, and what do Democrats do when all the news is bad? Well, we already established one of the things they do is they project everything onto their opposition. So, of course, that's one thing. The other thing they do is they just lie. Because if they figure they can get away with it, they just tell something that's the opposite of the truth. And it's like that. Yeah. What is that? Joseph Goebbels or something, the Nazi who said, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big lie. That way people, people will be in disbelief that they could be so lied to. And turns out that Tina Kotex is actually doing exactly that. And there's a great article in the Oregon Catalyst, which walks through a recent speech that she gave, making assertions about herself. And it has Tina Kotek, and then below it has reality. And she says, I'm running for governor because I'm a problem solver. And then they list. I know, you just can't stop from bursting out in laughter when you hear that. But reality.
You pronounced maker wrong.
Exactly. It's like, which problem exactly has Kotek solved? Since Oregon is number 4 for worst homeless state, number 4 for welfare dependency state, number 1 worst drug dependency state, number 5 worst cost of living state, number 8 highest top income tax state, number 2 highest corporate tax rate state, below average below national average job recovery, above average for crime, among bottom on national high school graduation rates. And it really does seem like maybe she's great at, she's very creative because she's a problem creator and a problem exacerbator. I wanted to throw that in there too. I've just accused her of exacerbating.
Yeah. Well, it's important to remember that none of these policies that Kate Brown or anyone else has signed they signed nothing that was not put there by Kotek in the last decade. So she's been right in there. Betsy Johnson's been right in there with her. Neither one of these people are solutions for anyone that I can see. They are, in fact, well, maybe they're solutions for government bureaucrats and people that want to keep their government state jobs and their gold-plated benefits and all that. But other than that, yeah, she is not a problem solver. She is a problem maker, and they will just straight up lie. I mean, and the unfortunate part about that is the media will happily carry those lies, happily amplify those lies, and put their stamp of legitimacy on those lies, and people believe it.
It's very true. I think that the media also likes to carry that water and tell people things that are just false. And I'm just going to put this article up there because I want you to read it and just know that you're being lied to. Because even though we just talked about inflation and the economy and all these problems, the media, in particular, a guy who's just a Democrat commentator, Jim Moore, who's supposedly nonpartisan, he comes out and he always points in the same direction. He's like a weather vane that points in the same direction all the time. And he said that voters in the middle don't really care about crime. Really?
Oh God! How is Jim Moore the only political analyst available to the mainstream media in Oregon? I mean, he's been saying the same crap for years.
Yeah, and he's always treated as if he's right until he's wrong, and then they never hold him accountable for being completely off his rocker on what's going on. And we know that candidates are talking about public safety, and of course, anybody who's made even a cursory trip through Portland know that there are people who never cared about politics, but they do now because of what's happened in Portland, and they know who's been in charge. They know who's been in charge and who's made it worse. Well, speaking of that, I think we'll call this the Kaiser Report. So I'm going to read 3 stories. These are all from Kaiser, which is just a northern suburb of Salem. It turns out that there is a recall effort being launched of the Kaiser School Board because the Kaiser School Board has passed what has been enabled by the Democrat legislature and governor here in Oregon, a concealed carry ban. So they're banning the safest, most background checked people who have not been involved with any crime, who are actually the only people when you've already kicked out the school resource officers, the police officers that are there in the school to protect students. And then you, of course, know that when seconds count, the regular police are only minutes away. They're going to make sure that somebody, even teachers, could not concealed carry to protect anyone in that. So it's a gun-free zone, and they're going to face recall, which it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people.
No, they deserve it. They deserve to be recalled. That's not the purview of the school board. To put the school at risk. I mean, that's what they're doing, right?
They are, and they're going to be held accountable by people that really. They're going to drive a debate here too, because we know that the way you stop a bad guy with a gun who will, with criminal intent, not follow gun laws or any other laws, is a good guy with a gun. That's how it's done.
Yeah, we see that a lot. The FBI says it happens about 20 million times a year, even though no shots are fired. So yeah, it works. It works, and they're just. That's the school board members that made those decisions and made some other really bad decisions too. I mean, they support CRT, these 3 board members, which is the very definition of systemic racism. Teaching that in schools, teaching children who are impressionable and there to learn that if they are a certain color, then they are a certain class of person. They've made those decisions there, and they deserve to be recalled. And I 100% support recalls. I think elected officials, when they step over where they should be, I think they should face the scrutiny of a recall. And I wish them well. My understanding, Kevin, I think that they are collecting signatures either every day or at least on some days at the Marion County offices at 752 Hawthorne, Southeast Hawthorne.
That's the Republican office in downtown in Portland. Yeah, And we'll make sure that we continue to get that information to you every day so that you can get connected with that, as well as I think they're doing some messaging online where people can get a hold of it and track down the petition. And, you know, talking about teenagers that may be not terribly well adjusted passing through our Salem-Keizer school district system. 2 of these teenagers were arrested last Friday night for an incident where they, at a Keizer Target store, where they are attacking store employees and an elderly man out of their very well-adjusted teenagers on Keizer Station Boulevard. And they were hanging around cars in the parking lot. Apparently, they didn't have any studying to do, so they just were out, you know, engaging the public. And there's a 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy who have been charged with assault of an officer, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, interfering with a peace officer, and third-degree aggravated assault. You know, with our school district getting rid of police officers and calling them all racist, I wonder where they got all the ideas that it would be smart to go and assault officers and resist arrest and engage in disorder. I wonder where they got that idea from.
Probably from the classroom.
Certainly by the example set by these school board members that you can recall too. And then the last story in Keizer, Keizer homeowner shoots and kills a home invader. Now former home invader. Yeah. This is why they want to take away.
Did you say a former home invader?
A former home invader. I added that. Yeah,
that's good.
And so, you know, so one less home invader, and people acting in their own self-defense in their own home. And, you know, I think, fortunately, we have a Marion County District Attorney who's going to tend to view this in a different way than Mike Schmidt in Multnomah County, who would probably go after the homeowner for defending their own lives in their own property. But this is why Measure 114 is going to be deadly for Oregonians, because they want to make it so that in order for you to be able to have the ability to do what this person did, you will have to get permission from the government and take classes which meet the government's approval. That's what they want to do. Be forewarned, because with crime surging, you need to be able to protect yourself. And Lars Larson kind of puts a bow on this, and this is the title of the article, and we'll end on this one. It's been reprinted in the Oregon Catalyst. He said, if you don't have one, now is time to buy a gun. And he kind of goes into this. Just what you were saying, David, that you can actually end things without a shot, but you can also make it so that people who show up with illegally show up with a semi-automatic rifle in a grocery store like in Bend, that you don't have to be the one that sacrifices yourself to stop the guy from killing people. You just kill him. And then no one else has to die. And especially as they get rid of, they defund police and they hamstring them so that they can't even do their jobs, or DAs won't prosecute and arrest them. So if government has abandoned public safety, this is why we have a Second Amendment. That's why.
Well, I mean, we have a Second Amendment for very, very good reasons. And all of these attempts to, what's the term? Infringe upon these rights are just simply un-American.
Well, and then when the President of the United States gets in front of a red, sinister background and declares that if you want to make America great again, and you're of a political party that tends to not agree with him, that you are a, quote, threat to our very democracy, unquote, that is also another reason why we have a Second Amendment.
Well, that is the ultimate reason. I have guns because the government has guns. Every time the government wants to enforce anything upon me, they send somebody with guns to see me, and I think it's important.
And when we look at all the countries where people once had guns, but they got taken away, and then only the government had guns, those are all places that you don't want to live, that people are trying to get out of and literally killing themselves to come to the United States, where they are hopeful that we will not let that happen. And if you and I and everybody listening to this do what we're supposed to do here this fall, we won't let it happen.
Right. Yeah. Got to vote. Get everybody in when you know to vote. I have 3 dogs that are trying to eat me because it's dinner time.
Well, I think we've ended on a poignant note here. Let's ask everyone to please share this show with everyone they can. It is now streaming live and also viewable on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. So if you know people who are not on Facebook, they can find it there, or if they're on Twitter. And it's very easy to share it from both of those locations. So please do that and help us out. And we will see you on the next episode of The Captive Audience. I think it should be Sunny and Don tomorrow with a ton more news. Thank you, David, for joining me here tonight and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, who showed up. Lori and Bobby and Marjorie. And I've been reading the comments. I just haven't commented. I apologize for that. So, Patty. Hey, there's Patty. So, thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you. And we will see you on the next episode. Have a great night, everyone.